I mentioned in one of my videos that having five different people with their hands on your scalp and your head is a bad idea. It was about a video, or it was during a video where we were talking about the African hair braiders who were apprehended by the police after holding a Black American woman hostage and holding her hostage, locking her, like basically kidnapping and assault. They pulled her hair out of her scalp, and her scalp was bleeding and her hair was gone. They pulled out a whole hair plug, right? From the root of her head. Okay. But I was having a side spiritual conversation or commentary, as it were, about why that's a bad idea anyway. So many Black American women, we try to shortcut the process of basically paying for Black American services because they cost more by trying to segue into African braiding shops. It's like, oh, they're done so quick and it's only $200. And I'm like, yeah, you're paying $200 for a $900 hairstyle, girl. You what a shortcut. You're paying $200 for a $900 hairstyle. But I didn't mean to talk about money today, but having the spiritual implications of having five people in your head, first and foremost, are confusion, right? Because someone having their hand in your head, and I'm cautious about saying what I'm trying to say this early in the video. YouTube usually censors anything that you say that is harsh within the first 5 minutes. So I would rather those 5 minutes pass. But you will pick up the implication when I say having someone's hand in your head, on your crown, in your scalp is like someone having their hands in your yes, yes, yes. Having five people in your head like that is like having five people in your body like that at a time. Your head is porous. Your scalp is porous. One of the main ways people can conduct witchcraft in a most successful way, in a way where the ritual barely matters, is when they have certain things from you. That is a tooth, that is a nail clipping from your nails or your toenails, and that is hair from your body, especially from your scalp. Because the Santeria, Brujeria, hoodoo voodoo implications of that is everything from mind control to manipulation of your will. So spiritually, for all intents and purposes, if you're going to have five people in your head, it needs to be your mama, your older sister, your little sister, and you, and your niece. You do not want five strangers in your head. First of all, we can talk bacteria. We can talk who's sick and who's not. We can talk who's got an infection and who doesn't, and what secretions are coming out of their hands onto your skin, into your scalp. And even if not into your scalp, because usually there's one person parting the hair at the root, parting your hair at the scalp. Let's say that's all one person, but these people are braiding even their bodily oils into your head. They can wash their hands all they want to. And I don't see a whole lot of braiders who are just like, but first, I have to wash my hands thoroughly, like a doctor, up to the elbow for 30 seconds on each arm. I've never seen that done. Okay. So, literally, what's on their hands whenever they wipe the oil off their nose, their chin, off their face, that combination oily skin, acne, whatever, there are five different people braiding that into your head for the sake of speed. For the sake of speed. People getting their DNA all over you for the sake of speed. Right in your crown where it matters. Because you don't have to do like we did growing up when we wanted a full head of braids, and that was sit on your tail in somebody's house for 16 hours to get those braids. Right? To get those nice um, waist length box braids. Takes that long. And now people are doing the goddess braids, and they're so lovely, but you're already adding synthetic hair and human hair to your head. So you don't want to add then a whole bunch of people because when you're talking synthetic hair, good Lord, unless you're ordering from some very, very specific hair dealers who deal in wool and who deal in recyclable, sustainable hair weaving. Oh my goodness, if you're talking Kanekalon, Toyokalon, if you're talking something that you got from a any kind of Asian hair store, you're talking chemicals. You may as well go outside and lick the pavement, okay? You might as well scramble eggs and chop up cigarettes, chop up some Newports and Marlboro and put them in there because of what is in that synthetic hair, right? And the thing is, we're braiding, it's not like popping a wig on and off, right? You know, you get a wig, you get some wig combs, you've got on your wig cap, and the wig itself is sewn onto a separate cap. You've got some layers there that you can work with, where you can just stick those combs in, and at the end of the day, or in a few hours, you can just yank that thing off. Hair hack, very convenient, not as invasive. But when you're braiding synthetic hair into your head, I'm like, everything you touch, you're sleeping in it. And that's just the synthetic. That's not the human, right? I like to wash all of my hair until the water runs clean when I first get it, whether that hair is synthetic or human. I wash it, but I also burn incense over it or Palo Santo or some kind of sage, dragon's blood, anything that I can kind of use the air element to speak over the hair, basically, because so much of the hair that we use, and I'm not knocking it because I do buy human hair. I'm not better than you. Please don't think that I'm saying that. I'm actually gifting human hair for Christmas. Uh, uh, some gorgeous hair, girl, like Mongolian, Cambodian, like girl. Anyhow, so much of that hair, especially when we get it from India, comes out of the drains. Yeah. That's why you get this virgin hair. It's like untreated, unpermed, undyed, virgin hair. And then you wash it, and what's in your sink is a greenish brown color. Because yeah, the hair is treated with chemical. Let's say you got it set in a wavy way, right? Let's say you got a water wave or something. They've sprayed some chemicals in order to get that hair fixed fast in that fashion of that water wave. Um, and sure, maybe some of that comes out, but a lot of the stuff you're getting when you're washing your wefts of hair is just filth. It's filth. It can be compared to cleaning chitlins. I know we don't like to hear that, but when hair is coming out of drains, what do you think it's mixed with? You can get on Google and you can Google whatever, part of India you want to, where women are shaving off their heads for rituals. And, there might be lice in the hair, mites in the hair, dandruff in the hair, psoriasis in the hair, plaque psoriasis, just all kinds of dermatitis. It doesn't matter. And it's in there and you're about to sew it into your head. So, what I'm trying to convey to you is that if you think about if you're getting goddess braids, right? Like the woman who got her hair yanked out, it's your hair, it's the synthetic hair, it's the human hair, the human who you don't know what they were going through. Even people with nati dreads, they've got rastas, dreadlocks, locked hair. Sometimes they cut their hair because their hair will hold memory and hold experience. And in order to free themselves from that, that's why you see a lot of Black women shaving their heads off, preferring a bald look or, doing that big chop. And they're like, oh my God, I feel so free. Oh my God, I feel so free. Like, what is that? For us as, Indigenous Black Americans, cutting your hair is a big deal, especially when you're a woman. We're like, no, don't cut it, don't cut it, don't cut it. So when we do cut it, we have all talked about, oh, I feel so free. But you got five different people hands in your head whose intentions for you are unknown because they are strangers at an African braiding salon. And you could switch African for Asian braiding salon, Arab braiding salon. Listen, I don't care. It's not an ethnic whatever thing. But especially when you're taking into account uh what people call diaspora wars are basically everybody Black versus Black Americans. That's really what it is. And so imagine having people braid their hatred and resentment of you into your hair. Why do you think these people be coming up? They're like, oh, I've been going to this braider for 20 years and you have no edges. And you have no edges. Oh, my hair is so long and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And all around your perimeter is trash. You look like a bald woman, even though your hair is to the middle of your back because your edges all around near your eyebrows, your forehead is just bald. In the middle of your head, you're missing hair. Also, if you want to talk about continuity and the quality of the style, usually you want these things to look uniform. If you have a number of people in your head, I remember being in Kenya, and that was the last time somebody outside of my ethnicity braided my hair. And this is when I was in my teens. I was like 19 years old. Uh, a Kenyan woman who was pregnant was doing my hair, and she was very pregnant, and she was having all day morning sickness, and she would burp in my face and blow it. Literally, back then I was a very sweet, soft Christian and I wouldn't say anything, but she would go, like maybe not to be rude, but to force the taste out of her mouth so she wouldn't feel more sick. And she would blow it just right into my face. And when the girl that I was traveling with was Somali, she was braiding my hair once we realized, oh, we don't have a whole lot of time. So the pregnant woman would start the braids and braid it to about the top of my ear, and then me and the Somali girl would just like braid down. And when we looked at the braids, it's like I can see everyone's braiding pattern. I can tell the braids that she braided completely, which were the most professional, obviously. I can tell the braids that the Somali girl did. She was just in a rush. She wasn't trying to make anything pretty. And then mine were okay. They were just a different pattern from the other woman. I'm like, oh, this hair is a mess. That hair eventually made me sick, and I vomited on my way to Tanzania on a little boat. The hair made me sick. She washed my hair before the appointment. But whatever synthetic, whatever sickness she was feeling, like literally, I was on the boat feeling nauseated. And I've been on several boats before without having some kind of motion sickness. But this is what can happen when people have their hands and their breath and their body so close to you, in you intimately, touching you intimately. You see a lot of people upset about the Erica Kirk hug that she gave to whatever Republicans woman's husband. Not just JD Vance, but another guy, because she put her fingers in his hair. And it's very intimate for somebody to be hugging you and putting their fingers in your hair. It's like you got to really know me to be doing that. That's very intimate, right? People talk about, hair pulling when they're in the act of intimacy. Like I said, having five people's hands in your head is like having five people's hands in your private parts. It is. I mean, your skin is the biggest organ on your body. So just on a natural level, on a physical level, on a spiritual level, you don't want five strangers' hands in your head. You just don't want it. It's one thing if you, your sister, and your niece are taking down your hair, right? Your sister's doing it for free because she loves you. Your niece is in awe because you're her auntie and your hair is so long. And she's like, oh, I'm going to look like this when I grow up. And there's goodwill. And you know everybody. You've lived with these people. You share DNA with these people. Whereas, you miss a couple of shots, you go get your hair braided wherever, and you come back with tuberculosis, and you're like, "Oh my god, I got TB. What's going on?" It's like, yeah, you you might be super susceptible when it comes to your scalp. I mean, this is why people wear hats. This is why practitioners of occult magic and spirituality, Sufism, whatever it is, even a Muslim Sufi, you see them, their head is covered. Their hair is covered. They wear more turbans than anybody else. A lot of Muslims, they might wear a kufi, they might not. They're not committed to their little hats like, other people of other groups are committed to their little hats. Some of them wear them all the time, some of them don't. But when you see these Sufis and you see these, even these brujas, like you see them with their head wrapped. And a lot of Rastafarian people, they will wrap their hair because it's like, I can't have you touching my hair. And come on, somebody who knows about there was a guy I was totally uninterested in, and he had me tighten his locks. And I'm like, I've never done this before. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what's I was completely like he was not on my radar. By the time I was done tightening his hair, he was. He was not on my radar. By the time I was done twisting them locks for the first time, so many pheromones trapped in that hair, and you get pheromones all over the scalp, whether your hair is locked or not. Your hair can be so pressed and still because that scalp gets oily and those sebaceous glands are leaking from your head, right? That's the thing, the number one thing that grows your hair. This is why Black people in specific have some of the most brittle hair and not weak hair, but like, our hair is prone to breakage because for the person with type 1 and 2 hair, the oils just fall down the hair, right? So if you're an Indian person, if you're a Cambodian person, if you are, you know, someone with straight hair, their hair you find gets really oily and yucky, right? Fairly quickly. Their hair can get oily and yucky in a matter of 3 days. Just brushing their hair, trying to style it. You may have seen in high school, you're like, oh, why is that Caucasian girl so greasy? Why is that so and so girl so greasy? And it's like, well, she did what you did. You went for 2 weeks without washing your hair, and she did, and she looks oily and greasy, and you look fine because the hair is having a harder time trying to travel down that corkscrew of a curl pattern for you, that curly, coily hair pattern. So you'll find in a lot of Black American women, the hair in the first 7 inches, like if they've got like, I don't know, like shorter length hair, the first 7 inches is really smooth and glossy and shiny. And then the bottom part almost always needs a trim because it's dry, because those oils are not falling all the way down. So, and then on top of that, you got people who imagine 5 different people and expecting them to be on the same education level about hair. Some people, they do your hair and they do it in a manner where, like, sometimes when you're locked in with a beautician, with a hairdresser, you go to her and it's like, man, when I first started going to her, I couldn't get my hair to grow past the point between my ears and shoulders. My hair was just always in the air. My hair is all down my back, and all I do is go see her once a week or, twice a month. And you're growing all kind of hair. I knew another girl who was getting her hair, colored blonde or whatever, and she's like, "My hair was down my back and blonde. Now it's, up to my shoulders, and I don't know what's going on." It's like that lady who's doing your hair hates you. That's what's going on. That woman don't like you. You look pretty every time you leave because she's skilled and she's talented and she gave you the color that you were looking for, but your hair is getting shorter and shorter and you can't figure out why. And then some people are just ignorant when it comes to how to handle hair. You would be surprised that, like, it's not just Caucasian people who can be clueless about doing black hair. Sometimes there are black people who can be clueless about, you can't detangle that girl's hair like that. You have to start from the bottom, then go to the top. Don't be starting in the middle of somebody's head or at the top of somebody's head with your pick, with your comb, with your detangling brush. Like, that's not how you do that. Why don't you have a leave-in conditioner? Why didn't you, kind of rake out the bottom of her hair on your hands first before you went and started detangling the length of her hair? Because now there's a blend of hair shed and hair fall and breakage that would not have happened if you would have been a bit more gentle and intentional about the way that you're detangling this woman's hair. So I did not mean for this to be a 20-minute video, but these are all the reasons why it was never a good idea to have five strangers in an African braiding shop and in anybody braiding shop in your head. And really, if you can figure out a three-strand braid, you might wanna be the one to be finishing up the braids in the braiding shop when you're going on vacation. I mean, of course, unless these are goddess braids and knotless this and that, which I, feed in braids where they've got, the loose hair hanging. I wouldn't expect you to have that skill. But I know this is, I'm sitting in a place perhaps of privilege when I say this because I don't require vacation hair. I have never required vacation hair, um, ever. I was born to a mother who was a cosmetologist who could pierce our ears, who could do our nails, who could do my hair. I was born to a cosmetologist. So growing up, I always had, somebody to press and curl my hair, somebody to wash, press, curl, wrap my hair. And as an adult, I spent a good 13 years of my life Muslim, so my hair was covered. My hair was a non-factor. And then in the recent years, uh, my hair is fairly long, and like my hair is maybe 3 or 4 inches above my waist. and it's not as thick as it used to be, but it's tedious to do because my hair is not, heat trained, or, some people think heat trained is a bad term, but really my hair will fluff up at the slightest humidity. So it's almost not worth it to even do something to my hair. So if I have to go somewhere fancy, I will just leave out the front part of my hair. You see that in this video. This photo of me is a live stream from a few years ago, and it's just I left out the front of my hair, and it's blended with the back of the wig. And so I just kind of use a wig like a hair hat if I have to, but in general, I just have my hair in two braids. Um, Unless I'm washing and detangling, oiling, that kind of thing, conditioning. So, to some extent, I could be sitting from a position of privilege when I say just fork out the money, because I haven't forked out the money in a long time, but I be forking out money on these wigs. Uh, I only keep a wig for so long. Um, I have a headband wig that has made it, several months with me, and it's only made it that long because I wear it for less than an hour at a time. I'll just run errands and then come right back home and take it off. Uh, but usually my wigs, they don't get beyond 3 months with me. So these are, anywhere from $40 to $90 hair units that I get. But if I were going to get braids, and that's another thing. All right, so I am sitting from a place of privilege because my eldest sister, she braids, right? She braids. If I needed to sew in, she could braid my hair down, sew it in, and I would get it all done at my sister's house. But I'm just saying, if I did not have my sister, right? Because I've lived in Texas, I've lived in places where my sister was not available. I'm just going to go to the salon and fork out the money. I'm just going to shell out the shillings and get that thing done by a person whose portfolio I've seen and whose attitude I like. That is important. You never want somebody to put their fingers in your head and have an attitude about it. Well, you were late. Well, I have another client. Well, you didn't sign in. Well, that's going to be non-refundable. Well, I'm going to charge you extra for this because I didn't know you had all this hair. You do not want to do that. Your scalp is porous. You know how you have one or two holes in between your legs? You got holes all over your scalp. Holes all over your scalp. And whatever energy, whatever sickness, whatever they have on them is going into you. And even when other women did my braids when I was growing up, I always went to very beautiful Christian women did my hair. I was raised Kojic, so that mattered. They were pretty. They had their own hair. In other words, what I'm trying to say is there was no envy. There was not, oh my God, this girl has all this hair. Ah, I wish I had this hair, right? Because I had that happen to me twice. I had a woman who talked like that and she would make my scalp bleed. Yeah. She would make my scalp bleed. And in the places where she made it bleed, my hair would, have trouble growing back. My hair was so dense as a child. It's not like I could see it, but every now and then I'm looking at a comb and I'm like, is that blood? Is that Kool-Aid? And mind you, I'm a kid. So I'm like, is it blood? Is it Kool-Aid? Why is it red? And just tearing up my scalp. uh Yeah, and even the other lady who braided my hair, she had a head full of hair. And these are both Black American women who braided my hair as a kid because my mom can braid, my mom will not braid. If you're dealing with Marcel's, if you're like an old school stylist, you really have to pick a passion. You really either have to just decide that you're a braider or decide that you are a hairstyler, color cutter, iron curling, weaving, whatever, because doing both will you'll end up with your hands in the shape of a C wherever you go. Your hands will curl in and swell up, and all kind of carpal tunnel inflammation. It's not a very nice thing. So again, I feel like I've held you hostage. Obviously, being born into a hair salon, and loving, long hair myself. I can talk about hair for hours. I can talk about hair methods for hours. I can talk about hair growth and retention for hours. So I don't want to keep you here for too long, but even when it comes to consistency, you want your hair to look one way. Girl, please don't have five strangers in your head. Please. As a matter of fact, if you can give these hairstylists, if you can take them on coffee dates and interview them and see where their mind is, do that. They don't have to be the sharpest tool in the shed. They don't have to be the brightest. They don't have to be the nicest. They just have to be passionate about their job and clean in spirit towards you. Good at what they do and clean in spirit towards you. That that's all you need. There's a viral Black American girl. I always forget her name. High yellow thin girl, probably in her early 30s. She does a lot of braids on TikTok, and she is just ideal. I think her name is Destiny. She's always got all kind of colors in her hair. Always somebody in her chair. The videos always have, 4 and 500,000 views. She is ideal in temperament and attitude and professionalism for somebody who you can trust with having their hands in your head for hours at a time. So that is it. Let me know how you feel about this. I am Uppity and I am out of here.